world is filled with incredible structures, artifacts, and stories from the past. But why do we fight to keep them around? Hi everyone, Ken here. Welcome to This House as we search for an answer to the question, does historic preservation even matter? Ever walked by an old building in your city being torn down? Ever wondered what stories it held? This is historic preservation in action. But why does it matter? Historic places are tangible reminders of our shared heritage. They provide a connection to the past, allowing us to reflect on who we were and how much we've grown. Historic preservation is not merely about celebrating our connection to the past, but also about understanding the impact of such efforts. Think of historic preservation as saving pieces of a grand, intricate puzzle that tells our shared story. This isn't just about old bricks and stones. It's about heartbeats, stories whispered through walls, and footprints on ancient floors. In the United States, the roots of historic preservation can be traced back to sites such as Washington's headquarters State Historic Site in Newburgh, New York. Recognized in 1850, it has the honor of being the first ever property designated and operated as a historic site by a U.S. state. Shortly after, in 1858, the preservation of George Washington's Mount Vernon took center stage. By the late 19th century, organizations dedicated to the cause began to emerge. Preservation Virginia, founded in 1889, took this lead as the nation's first statewide historic preservation group. And on a broader scale, the American Scenic and Historic Preservation Society was established in 1895, focusing not only on individual historic places, but also on protecting the natural scenery and promoting appreciation of America's beauty. The 20th century saw a flurry of preservation activities, with influential figures like Charles E. Peterson playing a pivotal role. He was instrumental in founding the Historic American Buildings Survey, also known as HABS, which traveled around the United States, taking photos of architecturally significant buildings and creating drawings of their floor plans and architectural details to document America's built legacy. His work directly influenced the formation of the first graduate degree program in historic preservation at Columbia University. Simultaneously, this momentum swept across the nation, with formation of various preservation groups dedicated to maintaining and protecting cherished houses and districts, including New Orleans' beloved French Quarter. Another landmark event was the inception of the U.S. National Trust for Historic Preservation in 1949, a nonprofit with the vision of revitalizing communities by preserving their historical essence. The tragic demolition of New York City's Penn Station was a turning point, pushing national sentiment strongly in favor of preservation. The loss of a building that millions of people had connected to, shared memories in, where thousands of people had proposed or had their first kiss, sent their sons off to war, and welcomed their grandkids visiting for the first time. Penn Station wasn't just an architectural wonder. Beneath its elaborate facade, its structure held a tangible connection to the memories of millions of people. That same year saw the establishment of numerous academic programs centered on historic preservation, with James Fitch pioneering the first graduate degree program in historic preservation at Columbia University. His efforts laid the groundwork for many more to follow, from institutions like Cornell, Boston University, and the University of Vermont, to Savannah College of Art and Design. By 2013, the U.S. boasted over 50 historic preservation programs at various academic levels, and by 2018, Columbia University offered the first ever PhD program in historic preservation. These academic endeavors reflect the growing significance and understanding of preserving history for future generations. While this can all sound abstract, there are real-world examples of historic preservation tying us to our shared cultural identity. Preserved sites anchor communities, representing collective memories, values, and experiences that shape our cultural identity. Whether you're a New Yorker or a Texan, this sentiment rings true. The Statue of Liberty was the gateway for over 12 million immigrants to the United States. Ellis Island holds the collective memories of countless families beginning their American dream. Preserving this site ensures that stories of hope, determination, and pursuit of a better life remain accessible to all, reminding the nation of its diverse roots. The Alamo in Texas is a beacon of Texan identity, but it is also much more than just an old mission building. It encapsulates values of resistance, freedom, and determination. The narratives of those who stood their ground there resonate with core American values, making its preservation essential for not just Texans, but all Americans to understand and honor our collective past. and even further, beyond the borders of nations. When a fire ravaged France's iconic Notre-Dame Cathedral in 2019, the world watched in collective sorrow. This wasn't just a structure burning, it was centuries of history, art, and shared human experience at risk. The global outpouring of support and the commitment to restore it highlights the intrinsic value such sites hold in anchoring communities and preserving cultural identity. While maintaining these sites can be prohibitively expensive, on a smaller scale, historic districts in small towns can boost local economies. They attract tourists, create jobs, and can result in higher property values. Small towns with historic districts often become travel destinations in their own rights. Tourists flock to these areas to experience a blend of history, architecture, and local culture. With every visiting family or solo traveler, there's a boost to the local restaurants, shops, and hotels. Think of towns like Williamsburg, Virginia, or Taos, New Mexico. They've become tourist magnets, bringing in significant revenue primarily due to their well-preserved historic districts. Sometimes, a single, well-preserved structure is enough to anchor a tourist economy, such as the Vanderbilt family's Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina, which attracts tens of thousands of visitors from far and wide, most of whom book hotel rooms and exclusively eat at the many restaurants found nearby. With increased tourism comes the need for services. This creates jobs in hospitality, tour guiding, maintenance, and even in specialized areas like historic restoration and archaeology. Local artisans and craftsmen also find a market for their products, promoting traditional and indigenous art forms and continuing the legacy of old-world construction techniques that seemingly have no place in new developments. Preservation is also environmentally and budget-friendly. By reusing existing buildings, we conserve resources and reduce the need for new construction materials. Instead of demolishing and building anew, which requires significant resources and energy, adapting existing structures is not only eco-friendly, it is budget-friendly. In many small towns and older suburbs, you can find houses with handcrafted artisan details, something which would cost a fortune today. Usually, these old Queen Anne's and Beaux-Arts style mansions will require more maintenance and upkeep than newer builds, but if you want a classically finished house on a budget, purchasing an older home that needs some TLC will generally be more cost-effective than hiring artists to work around the clock for years to give you the same results in a new building. And if you are still sitting here wondering why any of this matters, just imagine a world where we only have skyscrapers and highways. A world without stories, without a past. A world where every house is viewed as disposable, and where every town looks exactly the same. Historic places foster community pride and connection. When you stand in a place where history happened, you don't just learn about the past, you feel it. And guess what? You can be a part of this, from advocating for the preservation of a local historic site, to volunteering in restoration projects or just visiting and appreciating the old world charm. Our history defines us. By preserving it, we leave a legacy for future generations, a charming place where we can connect with our ancestors and share timeless moments with our loved ones, a place where we can learn from, cherish, and be inspired by the tales of our shared journeys through life. After all, the past is the foundation for our future.